This is a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from Houston, Texas, coming on the air with exciting news, big time news in the space world. Artemis II is now expected, or NASA is now conducting a wet dress rehearsal for Artemis II ahead of their launch day, which will be on Friday. The original wet dress rehearsal was delayed after very cold temperatures plunged the region in on Saturday over the weekend. And of course, there's 18 minutes, T minus 18 minutes till the wet dress rehearsal begins. And you're taking a live look here from the Artemis. From the Artemis II here, beautiful rocket ship here. This is from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And we are going to show you a lot of things right now. For example, let's show you what radar looks like. This is one of the angles. We have T minus 17 minutes to launch. And let me quickly do some stuff real quick. Here. So while we anticipate the launch of Artemis II, there is a lot to talk about. And this is a very big day. This is the first time. If the rocket does ultimately launch on the 6th of February, it'll be the first time since 1972 where NASA attempts to send people on missions towards the moon. Now these people, the astronauts will not be landing on the moon. That will be next year for Artemis 3. But let me quickly show you how things are looking like on the composite. Artemis 2 that will be launched in about 16-ish minutes. And then we have our radar. Okay, this should do it. I'm attempting to load. So this is our radar right now. This is what you're looking at, and we are in the midst of And we are in the midst of the dress rehearsal, and we are expecting word from NASA whether or not they will continue ahead. But looking at conditions right now, conditions look nice on radar. You're taking a live look there on the radar. This is from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and you can see here where this is where the Kennedy Space Center is at. And um, very clear weather here, very nice weather at least. Specifically, if we look at specific radar, which let's look at the KMLB radar, and there is not much to worry about. Very clear conditions. The radar looks nice. Nice day for a dress rehearsal. So, uh, very cool. Uh, Launch is expected in about 13 minutes ish, or not launch, but the rehearsal is expected in 13 minutes. And we are excited here, very excited here to see how it goes. But we are still awaiting word on NASA on whether or not they will continue with the launch. But there it is. How are we doing, guys? About 12 minutes and 31 seconds until launch. Anyway, guys. 12 minutes and 16 seconds till launch. Or not launch again, the rehearsal. Sorry, I keep saying launch. It's until the rehearsal. And this test really is going to be for fuelage. It's going to be a fuelage test. See if the systems will operate, if the systems will continue to operate despite the weather conditions, how they will continue to operate, how they will look like at launch. And the launch date itself will be on Friday. We will have all-day coverage on Disaster Central beginning at around, let me quickly check what our time frame says. Beginning at around 10 a.m., we will continue to have we will begin having all-day coverage of the launch of
local
Artemis
time
II,
8:48 p.m.
progressive
Eastern.
live updates on the launch throughout the week, throughout the 10-day period. But there is a lot that we are awaiting. There's a lot to be done. Very notable to see how this will look like, how this will perform. You give me one moment. Give me a moment.
X site here at the Kennedy Space Center.
T-minus 10 minutes till the rehearsal begins.
For those of you who were not with us earlier in our broadcast, SpaceX did confirm earlier tonight that there was an anomaly when they were in the process of getting ready for the deorbit burn for the Falcon 9's upper stage following the launch of the Starlink 17-32 mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base earlier this morning. SpaceX said, and I quote, "The second stage experienced an off-nominal condition during preparation for the deorbit burn. The vehicle then performed as designed to successfully passivate the stage. The first two MVAC burns were nominal and safely deployed all 25 Starlink satellites into their intended orbit. The teams are reviewing data to determine root cause and corrective actions before returning to flight," end quote. So the fact that we are seeing the Starlink satellites we'll come back to the Falcon 9 in a moment, time permitting, but we do see the clock has gone all nines here at the press site relating to the wet dress rehearsal. It's a little unclear what this means exactly, if this is indicative of them recycling the L- clock to set up for the current T0 that teams are targeting. Right now, the closeout crew is still at the pad, so a T0 at 9 was not going to be in the cards at this point. We're standing by for further from NASA to learn more about where things are with this tanking test. Teams did not come out of the hold at T-minus 10 minutes. We're standing by for further information from NASA. Again, the countdown clock has gone to all 9s, which may indicate either that teams are working to recycle the L- clock to align with what the current T0 actually is for this test. We are awaiting an update from NASA to confirm what the status of the wet dress rehearsal is and if teams are still progressing towards a new target simulated T0 or if they are making other plans tonight. Again, don't want to over speculate on where things are, but on NASA's tech feed, they have also stopped the clock at L-10 minutes. And again, teams did not come out of the plan hold per the original L- countdown timeline. We'll return back to updates on SLS as we get them, but just to close out things regarding the Falcon 9 rocket, the fact that we're seeing the payload fairings head back to the barn is, again, related, we believe, to SpaceX's update for now that they were going to pause and review the data from today's anomaly and determine the root cause of the upper stage issue and bring corrective actions to bear before returning to flight. The other option here is, in order to give NASA as much leeway ahead of the launch of Crew 12, they may be bringing these Starlink satellites back to Hangar X and pivoting instead to preparing for the Dragon spacecraft at Space Launch Complex 40. Again, you're looking live in the big box at a pair of Falcon 9 payload fairings believed to be containing the 29 Starlink V2 Mini optimized satellites for the Starlink 6-103 mission. Originally scheduled to launch tomorrow, then that mission slid to the 4th, then the 5th, and now it's a bit of a question mark considering that they're leaving Space Launch Complex 40. We'll, of course, continue to keep you updated on the status of this Falcon 9 flight and when SpaceX does have their return to flight mission. Meanwhile, back here regarding the Space Launch System rocket, teams continue to be in a bit of stasis as NASA's tech feed has the clock paused at T-minus 10 minutes. Teams are holding at what we believe to be the T-minus 10 minute point in time. Of course, per the nominal timeline, once the clock did hit 10 minutes, the L-minus clock would have converged with the T-minus clock as teams progressed into the terminal count. The way this process was scheduled to run tonight was that they would hit the terminal count and then progress towards T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. Then they would hold for up to 3 minutes to verify that the core stage is able to hold. Do have a new update. Just NASA noting that the countdown is entered into a 10-minute hold. Rehearsal will be extended beyond simulated 9 p.m. launch window opening. The closeout crew work is continuing in the White Room. And that's the latest from NASA. Again, this update time-stamped at 8:50 p.m. Eastern, 0150 UTC, as the countdown clock is being held at T-minus 10 minutes for now and for an unknown amount of time, as was certainly seeming to be quite obvious the case a while back. The simulated, the test will go beyond the simulated T0 option at 9 p.m., which was the earliest possible T0 today. NASA noted that the window could extend out to 1 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern. Just to give some additional clarity to what NASA's posted when they say that they entered a hold at T-minus 10 minutes, the plan for the timeline going down to a T0 at 9 p.m. would have been to have exited the hold that began at T-minus or L-minus 40 minutes. When the hold at T-minus 10 minutes began, that hold extended So it is currently 9 p.m. Eastern, 0200 UTC. This is the opening of the 4-hour window that NASA laid out for this wet dress rehearsal tanking test. As the agency noted, of course, we are not at the simulated T0 at this point in time. The closeout crew is still very much working at the White Room at this point. A new target T0 has not been announced by NASA. So we're a little bit in the dark as to where in the launch simulated countdown, the simulated launch countdown, I should say, that NASA currently is for the teams here at the Kennedy Space Center.
This is Disaster Central. We are listening in to spaceflight coverage of Artemis II launch. To clarify, there has been a delay. There has been a delay in terms of the wet dress rehearsal. There is now a 4-hour extension period, which means that for those that are in Eastern Time, the wet dress rehearsal can happen anywhere between 9 p.m. EDT, which would have been 2 minutes ago, to 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, which will be in approximately T minus 3 hours and 58 minutes. For those in Central Time, we basically have from 8 p.m. to midnight. We'll go back. We're going to go straight back into their coverage. Thank you.
Tracking skills to use for a much more easy to keep pace with vehicle. You could see actually another chopper just taking off. Looks like going to the left here.
This is Disaster Central Special Report. It is currently 8:08 p.m. Central Daylight Time at our headquarters in Houston, Texas. I want to quickly provide an update for us here from the Kennedy Space Center, or from here in Houston, but from NASA. They are basically anticipating a 4-hour wait period where the dress rehearsal could take place. They have the time. They have the time countdown paused at 10 minutes, T minus 10 minutes, but we are still yet to await. We're still awaiting official word on when the countdown will begin again. Um, the test could go anywhere from right now to 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time or midnight Central Daylight Time. You are currently watching Disaster Central, who is currently broadcasting spaceflight live coverage of the Artemis II dress rehearsal. And here you're taking a live shot, a live look from uh, looking at the Artemis, very beautiful rocket ship. But nonetheless, we are still awaiting word on when the wet dress rehearsal will occur or when the countdown is expected to occur. This is a very crucial test before the launch on Friday. If this does not go through, we could very well see a delay in the launch. Without further ado, I will leave it to spaceflight.
Local time now, 9:10 p.m. UTC. 10 minutes past the opening of NASA's 4-hour launch window, testing window for the Artemis II wet dress rehearsal tanking test. Teams never came out of the hold when it hit, or when it should have ended at T-minus 10 minutes to the opening of the window. And as you can see with the countdown clock on the lawn, the time is frozen at T-minus 10 minutes. At this point in time, NASA has not announced a new target T0, just noting that, of course, the rehearsal will extend beyond the simulated 9 p.m. launch window open, and that the closeout crew is continuing its work at the pad. While we're waiting for further from NASA, I want to thank the more than 1,800 of you who are watching along with us live tonight. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking that like button and sharing the stream to allow some more folks to find their way into this live wet dress coverage for NASA's Space Launch System rocket. I also want to thank channel member Michael McGrory for gifting 10 Spaceflight Now memberships. Really appreciate that, Michael. Thanks for helping to grow our community here on YouTube. And to our 10 newest channel members who were gifted membership, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Michael in the live chat if you haven't already. And we hope you decide to stick around with channel membership beyond the month you were just gifted. local time 9:14 p.m. Eastern, 02:14 UTC for those around the world. As we are waiting further updates from NASA on the status of the wet dress rehearsal and what the new target T0 will be for the WDR. Want to go to back in time, back last summer when the Artemis IV crew made a stop by the Kennedy Space Center and spoke with the press gathered here at the press site to talk about a whole variety of things regarding their mission, really taking our full run of questions. In particular, want to go to part of the conversation, which at the point in time of this briefing was, of course, continues to be a topic of great interest, which is the performance or the hopeful performance of the heat shield on the Artemis II flight after the Artemis I mission returned results that were outside of what NASA had predicted would be the impacts to the heat shield. The models had assumed a more even ablation of the heat shield, but as things turned out, there were some chunks that broke out from the heat shield as gas got trapped under the initial layer of the protective shield that protects the Orion spacecraft as it comes back through the atmosphere and can reach temperatures of up to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So we asked the friend of spaceflight now and seasoned space journalist Bill Harwood of CBS News was the one that brought up this question to the crew on their thoughts about the conclusions regarding the heat shield. Here's what the full crew had to say.
The concern was in-plane cracking that was discovered due to permeability on the previous heat shield. It's very well documented online. I recommend everybody go read the report. It's really fascinating. There's some great pictures and a lot of great technical background in there. We had what was called the Char Loss team at NASA, and it was headed in the Orion program, and they did a tremendous amount of research, a lot of kind of groundbreaking research in some facilities that we had not used before, and they discovered the root cause, which was the key to this whole team, was let's figure out the root cause, and then let's see where do we need to go. Artemis III will fly a different architecture. Artemis II, they pulled the data and they scrubbed and they did wind tunnel testing and laser testing and hypervelocity testing, and they determined that if we come in with this lofted profile with a 1775 horizontal target line downrange, that this heat shield will be safe for us to go fly. We're actually even looking now at pulling that back even a little bit more to give us some flexibility on landing day. So they think there's a little more capability in this heat shield than at first they realized. So I think all that points in a direction of goodness. And I think if you as a human being that was about to board this rocket had sat in the meetings that we've sat in and listened to the experts and gone through the data with them, you would have the same comfort that we do.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, well said, and I won't readdress any of that, but you brought up, former astronauts and other space professionals, industry professionals who have had comments on this. A lot of those are outsiders that haven't been in these meetings from day one and met the team and looked them in the eye and shook their hands at the ends of these meetings. But the other thing is, I don't want to discount the things that they've said. Anytime you talk about fire, anytime you talk about entry and heat shields, you talk about parachutes, these are high risk things that are sometimes they don't have fault tolerance built in. They have to work. And so I appreciate all of that nudging and poking and prodding that they've caused. They have made us sharpen our pencils and put more due diligence, more vigilance into that process. And so, but I think we have done that. And so I think the crew is comfortable because of that team, and we know how many people were looking at this. But at the end of the day, they were thinking about us and our families when they were doing their jobs.
And I would say that that appropriate skepticism led us to a culture, which is actually ultimately why we are comfortable. That culture is not about litigating a case of why we can fly. It's about doing the science to understand the systems and then making a decision based on that. That could be either rationale to fly or to not fly. And that's ultimately what got us to this point of being comfortable.
Yeah, I just want to put a little bit more emphasis on the fact that I think it's really important that this story gets told, and it's great that you're asking about it, because this should be characterized as a true American success story. I mean, this country now knows things about heat shield technology it didn't know. And that's the art. That's when you know you're pushing the boundaries, is when you figure something out you didn't know. And what they've done with all this learning is they put it in this category of us being able to understand the risk and make a risk trade. And now for us, when we look at the heat shield risk, there's always going to be a risk there, but it is in family with all the other risks we're going to take on a mission to leave Earth and fly around the moon.